Hello and welcome. My name is Nate Cap, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Outcasting, where I'm sharing bits of science towards freedom. And today I'd like to expand on the concept of spirituality and then get into truth versus human perception. And I'm going to share some graphs that I think will really help us understand this concept a little easier. So, real quick, before I go any further, I just want to say that I really appreciate those of you who have taken the time to listen to the prior episodes and really studied those episodes, and those of you who have shared this information with others. I really appreciate you. I'm very thankful that it has inspired you and you have found enough value in it to share it, because this information is very valuable. And, it's something that I've taken into myself. I've spent a lot of time and attention on myself, putting this information in myself to come to an understanding, to then be able to create this content, and it takes a lot of work. So thank you. And if you haven't got a chance to listen to the prior episodes, I definitely recommend doing so in order, so that way you appreciate what I'm explaining in this episode and in future episodes. Okay? So I'm going to start with the first slide that says, what is spirituality? Now, I'm not going to go too deep into what spirituality is. I actually kind of, gave a little bit of a rudimentary explanation in show number 3, where the title is called A Bit About Spirituality. So I didn't really go into too much depth, but basically, I gave what I believe is the core definition of spirituality, which is finding out where we bullshit ourselves the most and overcoming that and growing from that, right? Because that's what it's about. It's about finding the inconsistencies in ourselves, what we know is incorrect, and growing from that. Because that's where growth really takes place. One of the things I always tell people is I want to know where I am wrong, right? Because to want to know where you're wrong means that you want to fix that problem within the self and then grow from that, because that's really what growth is about. That's what spirituality is about. So, this slide here says spirituality is about being able to say to the self, I was wrong. The 3 hardest words that anyone could ever say to themselves is, I was wrong. And then being able to grow from that, being able to move on from that honestly, because I was wrong indicates that you're being honest. That's what spirituality is about. Being honest with the self, admitting that you're wrong, admitting that you don't know something or that you do know something, right? It's about realizing that, the ego wants to be on the throne of the house, so to speak. The ego wants to rule over everything because the ego wants the self to be comfortable, right? But that means that the lower desires, the lower self is living in the higher. That means it's controlling the higher. And that's by living that way, it means that we will lie to ourselves, because ego will do anything to maintain comfort, including lie to the self. That's what the ego does, the negative side of the ego, right? So We have to, by overcoming that, by putting the ego in check, that is about being honest, right? That's spirituality, being honest, being aware of your bullshit, right? So this is about the journey of going from ignorance and darkness into light, into enlightenment, going from our base conscious frequency into higher states of frequency. That's spirituality. And it's a journey. Spirituality is the journey to truth, the journey to light, the journey to what is correct, the journey to what is ultimately right. You know, it is the journey to freedom. That's what spirituality is all about. It's about going in the direction of freedom, generating freedom by learning what is correct and what is not correct, learning objective morality, and aligning ourselves to what is right. And that is where we're going to grow. That is how we grow, and in consciousness. Okay. So it's, this is about learning how to think critically. It's about learning how to learn critically. It's about learning how to take in information and be honest about whether the information is correct or not. Learning what is inconsistent about the information, and learning what you know about the information and what you don't know about the information. Therefore, you come to an understanding of what you have taken in, and then you're able to communicate that critically, to put the information out and convey what you know and understand, or what you don't understand, because it's about knowing what you know or knowing what you don't know, because that's about being honest. It's about being genuine. It's about aligning to truth. And if you don't know something, then you go and search to try to understand or to know what that is, right? So that's what spirituality is about. And I think this definition here really states what spirituality is ultimately. And there's other definitions of spirituality, and I think it's very important that we become conscious of those other definitions, so that way we have a more broader range of an understanding of what spirituality is. Because spirituality is a very, very important concept to become conscious of in and of itself. So this definition states that spirituality is the science of morality, meaning it is the knowledge and understanding of objective right and wrong, because that's what morality is. And it's the science of morality and the laws of nature, being the unseen forces in nature, which are not, based on perception, which are not based on dogmatic belief. They're not based on man's authority, what man says they are, right? Because it's about you on your own unique journey, using the knowledge that makes sense. You're using the trivium process to bring in the information and see what makes sense. Understand what is objectively true and objectively not true. And you can know this. But of course, we're taught that you can't know this. But I'm telling you, objectively, you can know this. Without a doubt, you can know this information, because if you're being honest with yourself, you can know that you do know, or you can know that you don't know, right? So, spirituality is about openness, an open mind, right? But it's about being aligned to what is correct and what is true, because it's about going in the search for truth, because it's an unfoldment towards truth, right? It's an unfoldment in your unique journey towards truth. That means that it is the opposite of religion. Religion is a binding condition of the mind to hold consciousness back from forward progress, from growth. Spirituality is about growth. It's about higher frequency to grow, right? So it's not a belief system. It is the opposite of a belief system. It is a way in which it is a science, because it's about knowing and understanding. It's about knowing and understanding because it's about honesty, right? That because it's about growth. Religion doesn't help people grow. Okay? Religion stifles our spiritual growth. And a lot of people confuse spirituality with religion because they have mingled the two. And we have to be able to see the difference between the two. We have to understand that, spirituality is in opposition with religion. And I'm going to explain that a little further in the next few episodes when I get into the topic of religion. So this is about, evolving, right? Spirituality is about evolving in consciousness. It's the evolution from base frequency to higher states of consciousness. And consciousness is about the awareness of what's going on within ourselves and what's happening around ourselves. So it's the esoteric, the inward, and the exoteric, the outward. So the inward research and the outward research, right? Because it's about being observant of what's going on within, and therefore, you start to understand what's going on within other people and what's going on in the world. So I'm going to go on to the next slide that says human perception versus truth. And the white line is akin to truth, okay, in this chart. So the white line is singular. It's unwavering, meaning it's unchanging. It doesn't change. And then human perception, what equates to human perception in this chart is the wavering frequency line, right? It's wavering because it's changing, right? Truth doesn't change. Truth is that which is. It's singular. It's objective. So perception is subjective, right? So the three white lines that you see are, basically just to explain the higher frequency, the mid frequency, and the lower frequency, but to understand that there are other frequencies in between those. There's other colors that I could put in between them, but this is just a simplified way to help us understand how human perception frequency can align to truth or lack thereof, right? So the oscillating wave frequency on the top line is it's about understanding that because the wave pattern has a smaller distance or a smaller period between the oscillating wave frequency, what that means is that the perception line, the wave line, is making contact more with that white line. Okay? So the more contact is made, the more that truth is revealed, the more that you're in alignment to truth, the more that truth, the more that we raise in consciousness, the more that we're able to see truth, and the more that we're able to manifest more truth into our life, right? And so therefore we're aligning to that which is. But the more that so it's about understanding that, the more frequent that we align our perception to the truth, the more frequently we will reveal the truth, That's what this is about. So the less frequent, if we go down to the bottom with the red oscillating wave line with longer distances between the wave frequency, the period is longer between, indicating that reality is less frequent to our minds. And the less frequent we are, because this is base consciousness, and the less frequent that the line crosses paths with the plane of truth, the less frequently we will see truth, and therefore we live in darkness, right? And we live in ignorance. So the higher we are, where the oscillating line is frequently hitting that white line, the more we are aligned with truth. And then the lower we are in consciousness, the less we are going to come in contact with truth, and therefore truth doesn't come to us as often. And that, to me, really sums it up in a very simple way. And just to make it a little bit more simple, if you've been paying attention to my prior episodes about the circle dot, the symbol of the circle dot, or point within a circle, I talk about the Spire Path. This is what I call the Spire Path, which is about the spiral connecting the circle to the dot. So the dot in this diagram equals the plane of truth. The white line is equal to the dot, which is truth, right? And then human perception would be the circle. The circle would be the oscillating line and the wave frequency, right? So when you put that oscillating wave frequency over top of the white line, this equals the spiral path frequency from the free will being the circle, and towards the truth being the light in the middle, towards freedom, right? So it's about you start out in the red, and then you go to the green, the blue, to and this is more simplified. Of course, there's more colors in between, but the frequency goes more towards truth when the line starts to turn magenta or purple, right? So this is about understanding the circle dot is a more simplified version of this human perception frequency and truth, right? So this is one thing we have to understand, is that and I said this in the third episode, is that the higher in frequency we get, the more that people start to fall away from us. But it also, because their frequency isn't aligned with ours. With when we raise our frequency, sometimes other people's frequency becomes their wave oscillating is not, it's not in alignment. Whether we are in a low frequency and they're on a high frequency, or we're in a high frequency and they're in a low frequency, this can cause friction, right, between us. And this is what causes people to fall away. But it can also attract other people who are in the same frequency as us. So the closer we get to truth, the more we start to align with those who are aligned to truth, right? So another thing I wanted to talk about real quick is something really interesting, is that we know that light is akin to truth, right? So if we arrive closer and closer to truth, the more light that we gain, and what this does is this causes more clarity, so the more light that we can see, more light we gain, the more we can see in the dark. So the interesting thing is that light itself as a frequency, it stays the same. It stays constant. It doesn't change. It's unwavering. So it's it it remains constant. And I'm not a physicist, but from what I understand, frequency of light is a it's a property or a quality of source. And even if the light passes from, one medium to another medium, it remains the same. It doesn't change. It remains unchanged. It's unwavering. So that's really interesting to actually uh, understand that light itself um, in physics does not change. So it is akin to truth. Truth remains. So I think that's very fascinating. Now, the question of the title of the show is, does perception equate to truth? And the answer is obviously no, because our perception is not truth itself. In this diagram, you can see, and I really like this diagram because truth is the object. It's objective, right? And our perception would be like the light that is causing the silhouettes on the wall, or the underneath the truth or beside the truth, right? So there's a lot of perceptions. So you could say that there's 6 people here with all their perceptions of the truth. Now, everybody has a piece of the truth, and this kind of goes back to what I was talking about with the round table, the King Arthur round table with the 12 knights, right? Because this is about understanding that truth is in the middle. Truth is the middle path. Truth is the light at the core. Truth is the source, right? So we're trying to align ourselves with that because that is nature, right? Nature itself. And the more that we find ourselves aligning to truth, this is because we're being honest with ourselves. We're being honest in our approach, and we're arriving at the truth more and more, and we can share each other's perceptions of the truth to understand the truth even more, to see other sides of the truth, but to be honest in how we arrive at that, right? So one of the ways that we do is through our moral behavior, because we learn what is correct and what is right by knowing that a right does not cause harm. It doesn't initiate violence to other people, right? And there's other ways of understanding the truth, but or what is moral, or what is correct. But the point is, the more that we become conscious of the self by the knowledge that has been passed down for thousands of years, the more that we will arrive at more truth. The more if you look at the image, the more that we will understand the different sides of the truth, right? Because it's not that the truth is an actual object, but it's about understanding that truth itself is objective in nature, right? So, because it is it is that which is. It is that which has occurred and what is currently occurring, regardless of perception, but we can align our perception to it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and end it there. And if you guys have found value in this information, please share and, get the information out there. And also, if you'd like to learn more, if you haven't done so already, you can go to cubbyhole.com, start at podcast number 1, work your way forward. And also you can follow me on Telegram under Outcasting with Nate Cap, where I share weekly videos and other important information. And I definitely will be getting into some very, very important critical knowledge here in the next few episodes. So definitely stay tuned, and I will see you guys again soon.